Hi, I'm Chip Rowan, and I'm reporting for the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. We're celebrating Breaking Bread's 10th anniversary, where Breaking Bread has been providing food and monetary resources, plus volunteers, to local feeding programs. Another part of Breaking Bread is creating awareness for the need for food and how folks can help provide food. Today, we are going to be learning about 412 Food Rescue and how they help to provide food to those who are in need. We're at 412 Food Rescue here in the East Liberty section of Pittsburgh, and with me today is David Neimanis, and David is actually the project manager for 412 Rescue. Good to have you here, David.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about 412 Food Rescue. What is your mission here?
Our mission, we were founded as a direct response to the fact that 40% of food that gets produced goes to waste, while 1 in 9 Americans are experiencing food insecurity. So we're bridging that gap by removing that food from the waste stream and getting it to people who need that food.
Okay, great. Could you talk about the process of how that happens?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. So we work with distributors, retailers, so grocery stores, restaurants, catering companies, universities, and whenever they know they're going to have excess food that they do not have a place for, rather than them throwing it away, they can contact us and we can either send out volunteers or staff to pick up this food and then bring it to a nonprofit that supports people experiencing food insecurity.
Well, that's a great concept. So food probably would be wasted, and then there's folks that are hungry, so you're actually bridging that gap between the two. Right. So say I'm having an event, and I'm having it catered, and I think that there's a possibility I would have food left. What would I do? How would I get in contact with you?
You would go to 412foodrescue.org. And on there's a big green button that says Donate Food. You click that button, it's going to ask some information. You can say that it's an event. Somebody from our staff will reach out directly and get in contact with you. There's a couple stipulations. If the food has been served, so if it's been on a buffet line or anything of that nature, it's no longer able to be used. But any of the food that is behind the scenes, if you will, that food is still perfectly able to be rescued by our volunteers and our staff. And it's a pretty simple process.
So when the volunteers pick the food up at the event, they take it directly to another nonprofit? Is that how that works?
Correct. So it's a direct transfer. So we don't bank any of the food. We don't warehouse any of the food. And that's why our emphasis on fresh food. The food bank does a great job with distributing food, especially non-perishable items. But there are a lot of foods out there that have a very short shelf life. So we do a direct transfer, getting the food from point A to B with no stops in between.
Okay, great. Now, you recently expanded into Fayette and Westmoreland counties. I know you serve a bigger territory there. Could you talk about the areas that you serve and the new areas that you're into, if you could?
Yeah, so it's been really cool reaching out and expanding into new counties because each county does have its own unique characteristics that make it itself. So we started off in Allegheny County, specifically in the city of Pittsburgh, and certain challenges that exist in the city of Pittsburgh are different than challenges that exist in Fayette County and Westmoreland County. So it's been great to see that our solution is a viable solution in these other areas that have their own obstacles. Distances between nonprofits and food donors could be a little bit greater than they are in the city of Pittsburgh. And it's been really neat to see that this actually functions and is a viable option in these counties outside of Allegheny County.
Now, if you're a nonprofit and you would like to partner with 412 Food Rescue, how would you go about contacting? What's the process for that?
You would also visit 412foodrescue.org, and there is a way to get your nonprofit involved. And it's a quick form that you fill out. Somebody on our operations team will reach out directly. They're going to want to make sure that there's somebody on site that's ServSafe certified, so somebody has a certification in handling food. And this is important because we don't do any home deliveries. There's liability involved in that. We want to make sure the food is getting to a gatekeeper that has experience handling food before it makes its way to the recipients that are receiving the food.
And you're using technology for this. Do you understand there's an app that you use? Would you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So about 50% of the food that gets rescued is done by our volunteers using the Food Rescue Hero app. So we have 2 large box trucks, and those are doing really large donations from very large distributors that are supplying grocery stores and supplying restaurants. But we noticed early on that there was a lot of food that was falling through the cracks. So if you think of a restaurant, maybe it's Sunday, they have 2 cases of tomatoes. Monday, they're closed. They know on Tuesday those tomatoes aren't going to be as fresh as they want them to be to serve to their customers. Normally, that would not warrant sending out a refrigerated truck to get. So we decided that it would be great if we could mobilize volunteers to use their own vehicles. So the way that we've been able to mobilize our volunteers is by developing an app. It's called the Food Rescue Hero app. You can download it on the Apple Store. You can download it at the Google Store, wherever you get your apps. And the way that this works is you download the app, you register, and then you're going to open the app, see a map of your area. It's going to be very much like Uber or Lyft. You'll see an icon around your area if there's a rescue available. And it will say, this rescue is going from Giant Eagle to this housing authority site. It'll show a route. It'll link to your navigation software, so Apple Maps, Google Maps, Waze, and you can claim that rescue, and essentially it's going to direct you to the donor. So like I said, Giant Eagle in this example, and then it's going to direct you to the nonprofit. And generally speaking, doing a rescue takes about 45 minutes to an hour, so it's a really quick, easy way to volunteer in your community without maybe having to give up 8 hours on a Saturday.
So that's great. So and if you wanted to volunteer and wanted to be part of that process, you just go on and download that app. Is there training for that too?
There is a food safety training that comes with it. So when you download the app, you'll receive a food safety training. It's a pretty quick process, all things considered, and it'll give you a basic rundown of the way that food should be stored, the way that food should look, what you should do in the event that you receive a food donation that is not up to the standards of what we need. And once you do that, you're going to be able to go out there and get on the road and start rescuing food.
That's great. What a great concept. What a great way to use the technology, too. And you're sharing that with other areas of the country, too, it sounds like, that they're using that technology, too, also.
Yeah, so we are licensing our technology out to other cities. So right now we're in Philadelphia, Cleveland, Northern Virginia, San Francisco, and we have a couple other cities that are in the works of implementing this into their cities, including Los Angeles right now.
And that was developed here in Pittsburgh?
It was, yeah.
Now, are any of the local colleges helping with information like that?
Yeah, so we do receive support from local universities. Carnegie Mellon's played an integral role in helping us develop a lot of our operations. Our CEO is actually an alumni of Carnegie Mellon. And then University of Pittsburgh's been very helpful in rescuing food around the city. They have a couple student groups that share food rescue responsibilities. But as we know, a lot of food does get wasted on university campuses. So think of graduations, end of the year situations where there's way more than enough food being produced and served to these communities. A lot does go wasted, and they're really great about contacting us and making sure that this food's getting to somebody who needs it.
Great. It sounds like the response has really been good for 412 Rescue. One of the stats was the Pittsburgh area has the largest volunteer-led food transport network in a single urban region. That's a great stat.
Yeah, it's been really amazing to see how fast it sprouts. We have over 10,000 people that have downloaded the app, about 7,500 people that have actually fully registered on the app. So there's a really large network of people out there, and a lot of people are really willing to make a big commitment, which is really a special thing to be around.
What's one of your biggest needs? How could our viewers actually help your organization the most?
We're always looking for more volunteers. I mean, that allows us to do more food rescue. So for instance, right now we're seeing the time in which a rescue gets posted on the app, the time to claim is reducing, meaning that within minutes, these rescues are being claimed. When we see that, that means we have the capacity to do more rescues and get more food donors and more nonprofits involved. So the more volunteers we have, the more places we can rescue. And as we expand into new counties, as we get deeper into Fayette County and Westmoreland County, it's a slow-moving operation at first because you just need to find food donors, nonprofits, and volunteers and find that sweet spot of where you can actually operationalize that and there's no shortcomings. Mm-hmm. So really, I would say just getting involved and getting more food donors involved, more volunteers involved, and nonprofits involved.
Now, volunteering, it sounds like that's as you're available. So you could sign up and say you have a couple hours on a Friday afternoon. You could just see if there's anything available to pick up.
Exactly. You could do it on your lunch break. You could see if there's any rescues on your way home from work that meet some sort of a similarity to your commute home. Saturday afternoon, whenever there's a rescue available. Okay. And there are options to turn on push notifications. So if you do want to receive notifications when a new rescue becomes available, that's an option as well.
How about financial support? I'm sure that there's overhead here and things that you need to cover financially. How could folks help financially?
We do have an option on our website, once again, 412foodrescue.org, to make any personal donations, and we are always very appreciative of that. We do have certain products that we develop with local retailers, so cideries, brewers, ice cream makers, where we use either rescued food or food that is gleaned from our urban wild to create products. And by purchasing those products, that certainly pays dividends and helps us out quite a bit as well.
Now, other than the food rescue, there's other programs that you have too. You want to talk a little bit about those, David, please?
Yeah, sure. So I just kind of touched base on the product innovation side of things. So we have a program called Hidden Harvest. There's a lot of fruits, vegetables, herbs, things that are growing in our urban wild. So private, publicly owned orchards, trees, gardens, whatever it may be. And more often than not, this food either just rots on the ground and never gets used. So we decided it would be a great way to utilize this food and either take the food and then provide it to our nonprofits to be consumed, or certain foods that maybe aren't great for consuming. Take crab apples, for instance. We work with the local cidery, Threadbare Cider, and crab apples turn out to be great for making alcoholic cider. Okay. So we can work with retailers of that nature to create products from these locally gleaned fruits and find a second use for them, raise awareness for our operation, raise some money for what we do, and create a cool story with our community.
Other opportunities that you have found here since 412 Rescue's been working with the food?
Yeah, another option we have too is we have been kind of tapping into as many areas where we see food being wasted. One of those is on local farms. A lot of times there's farmers that have produce and vegetables that have been deemed unsellable. That might be because they're misshapen, they might be too big, too small, or more often than not, it's just excess, and they don't have a buyer for this product that they have. So we created what we call Ugly CSA, and it's a 12-week program. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. Once a week, it's on every Wednesday from July 15th to September 30th. Our subscribers will get one box. It's 15 pounds of fresh produce from our local farmers. And it's a really great way to support local farmers by allowing them to utilize this excess produce and to be able to find a second use for it.
Sounds like the food that you have helps supplement like maybe food that's provided by the government too. So these food nonprofits that are providing food to the community party are low on resources, so this helps to supplement what they're getting.
Yeah, and we work with what we call non-traditional nonprofits. So we work with nonprofits that their sole purpose is not related to hunger. Okay. So examples of non-traditional nonprofits would be after-school programs, housing authority sites, places where there's another mission that is being served, but food insecurity is often associated with. So we work with every housing authority of City of Pittsburgh. We work with every Allegheny Housing County Authority site, and we work with housing authorities in other counties as well, such as Westmoreland County. And these places are great for finding housing for residents, but food is not necessarily the number one priority, but it's something that is a problem for most residents. So by working with us, it allows us to help those organizations continue doing what they're doing, which is finding housing for residents, while we can help supplement some food.
That's great, and I'm sure that their residents appreciate that too, as you're helping to supply that. Certainly,
it's a really great opportunity, and something that often goes overlooked is we have volunteers at a lot of these nonprofits. So if there's a housing site with 180 residents, we can't just drop off a bunch of food and expect that food to get to all of the residents. It requires some cooperation and assistance from some of the residents to volunteer at their end, which provides sense of purpose and sense of community. And it's a really special thing to get a lot of this fresh, healthy food to people that really need it.
Yeah, and it is healthy food too. It's not canned food. A lot of it is fresh food, it sounds like.
Yeah, we have a primary emphasis on fresh food, fresh produce being our primary emphasis. We do deliver non-perishable items as well, so if there is a situation where non-perishable items are what are available, we'll certainly distribute those. But we're not doing the same thing as food banks are doing. We're not doing canned food drives or things of that nature. Those are really important things, but not really a part of our operation.
Now, with fresh food, sometimes there's a problem for people knowing how to prepare that. Do you help them at all with like recipes, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we still do run a program called Cooking Matters, and it's a cooking course that we allow housing residents to enroll in. We're working out and piloting some new versions of that program. One of those is going to be, instead of it being a curriculum, just being a one-time ad hoc type of a cooking course. So let's say it's a situation where we're delivering a case of cabbage. Maybe the residents have never cooked with cabbage before and don't know what to do with it. And if they're not using the cabbage, then we're not really solving a problem, because then it's just getting wasted somewhere else.
Right.
So by providing on-site cooking courses, we can teach residents how to use this product, and then they can go back to their living quarters and then replicate what they had just learned.
Okay, that's great. So it teaches them how to use it and actually having a healthier diet because of that.
Absolutely.
Now, the nonprofits, the volunteers, it sounds like they have to have some training. You mentioned Safe Serve, so they actually have to have that training. Someone on that location would have to have that. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we want to have somebody on each nonprofit site that is ServSafe certified, to ensure that there's somebody on site that is certified in handling food, which definitely takes some of the burden off of the driver, so our volunteers, and essentially they're serving more of a role as a Uber Eats or DoorDash driver.
You mentioned about folks going to the website. Is there other ways they could contact 412 Food Rescue other than the website?
I would recommend just going to the website, 412foodrescue.org. There's going to be some contact emails, contact phone numbers, depending on what your specific needs are. So there's lines for general inquiries, and then there's also lines for food donation inquiries.
David, I appreciate your time today and appreciate the work that you do here, too. So thank you for saving the food and helping to get to folks that could use that. Anything else you want to share with our viewers before we wrap up here?
I don't think so. I appreciate you coming out here today, and really great to talk about what we do, and we look forward to expanding into more counties and rescuing some more food.
Okay, thank you. Folks, you heard a lot of information here. David has shared ways that you can help, so we hope that you'll take advantage of that, visit the website, and see how you can help out.
Hunger exists in every county in America. More than 1 in 5 children are at risk. Armstrong continues to create awareness in our communities through Breaking Bread, our initiative to provide resources to food pantries and soup kitchens. We're celebrating our 10th year of Breaking Bread. Armstrong is proud to have provided food, money, volunteer time, and awareness to over 200 community feeding programs over the past decade. For more information, visit us at armstrongonewire.com/breakingbread.